Discover the amazing transformation of William McKinley, a heartwarming journey to power revealed. 11-year-old William McKinley stood in the crisp autumn air, his heart racing like a drumbeat as he navigated the carpet of crimson leaves on his way to school. The vibrant colors around him whispered of dreams and passions, but the laughter of his wealthier classmates echoed in his ears, a harsh reminder of the barriers his modest background imposed. His father, a hard-working shopkeeper, filled their small home with tales of the American dream while his mother infused love and care into every corner, creating a sanctuary amidst life's struggles. Each evening, as the family gathered for dinner, the warmth of their close-knit bond was palpable. Yet, conversations often erupted about the future. How do you balance ambition with family loyalty? His father would ask, furrowing his brow with concern. William, bright-eyed and eager, soaked in every word, feeling the weight of expectation settle on his small shoulders. With each step, the world felt both exhilarating and confining. He played with friends on the streets, basking in carefree laughter, but his heart ached as he saw their fine clothing and heard tales of wealth and privilege. He longed for the opportunities that seemed forever out of reach, and he felt the sting of social prejudice that crept in with whispers of inferiority. One fateful day in 1861, as the thunder of cannon fire echoed in the distance and the nation was plunged into war, William felt a fierce resolve. He made a choice that would forever change his life. He enlisted to defend the very ideals he had only ever dreamed of. Ready to fight for freedom, he stood shoulder to shoulder with comrades from various backgrounds, their shared struggles forging bonds stronger than blood. But as the war raged on, so did the strain on his family ties. Letters home revealed a growing gap between his ambitions and the loyalty he felt toward those he left behind. He often pondered the question, was he betraying his family by pursuing the greater good for a community that deserved better? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Returning home, William was a different boy, marked by the trials of combat yet brimming with dreams. He sought a political foothold to bring about the changes he craved, but the cool whispers of doubt from the townsfolk chilled his spirit. Is he worthy to lead? They muttered, questioning his ambition. He felt the weight of societal expectation heavier than any uniform he had worn. In that pivotal moment, everything shifted. A devastating fire ravaged a local business, smelling smoke that wove through the streets like a haunting melody. William turned toward it, galvanized by love for his community. He inspired others to rally, to restore hope and unity. In rebuilding not just the structure, but the spirit of togetherness, he found a deeper purpose, a rekindled connection with his struggling family. But just when hope began to bloom, shadows returned. A fierce political rival emerged, one that questioned William's every move and threatened to unravel all he had worked for. And to complicate matters, the rival bore ties to William's past, rattling the foundations of his loyalties. Would the weight of prejudice and expectation crush his dreams, or could he rise once again, even higher than before? The answers lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be seized. William stood on the doorstep of his childhood home, the faint scent of smoke still lingering in the air. The fire had taken its toll on the town, robbing them of more than just a building. It stripped away their sense of security. Friends and neighbors had gathered, faces etched with worry, but somewhere beneath the shadows of despair, a flicker of determination glowed. He could hear the murmurs of the crowd. What will he do next? Can he really lead us? Each question felt like an arrow, piercing through his resolve. Yet he felt their eyes on him, waiting, hoping. With a deep breath, William stepped forward, every heartbeat thrumming with the energy of unspoken expectation. We are not defined by what we lose, he called out, his voice carrying through the silence. Together we can rebuild. We can lift each other up. His words, fueled by the passion ignited through his recent experiences, took flight into the swaying branches above. He watched as faces shifted from worry to a spark of hope. But deep down, doubt had settled in. How could he truly inspire change with an uncertain future ahead? His rival, Jonathan Murdoch, lurked like a shadow, watching every move. Murdoch, with his polished rhetoric and deep pockets, posed a real threat to everything William had envisioned. As he looked around at the gathered crowd, doubts whispered again, uninvited, questioning if he was indeed worthy of their trust. The next few weeks became a blur of town meetings, impassioned speeches, and long discussions over dinner with his parents. Each conversation added layers to the pressure building within him. His father, always a well of wisdom, often spoke of the importance of character. A leader must be unyielding in their convictions, even when the world tries to shake them. He'd remind William with a steady gaze. Those words felt simultaneously reassuring and daunting. One crisp evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of amber, William sought solitude by the riverbank. He watched the water dance over rocks, a metaphor of resilience in his mind. Life had a way of carving paths through hardened stone. Could he do the same within his own community? Later that week, as he stood before a gathering of townspeople again, William felt the weight of decisions crush down on him. Each face turned toward him was filled with yearning. "What is your vision, William?" A voice called from the back, breaking through the tension. The question hung in the air, an ethereal thread waiting to be grasped. "My vision is unity," he proclaimed. "We must support one another in rebuilding our town. We must elevate each other, regardless of our backgrounds. Together we are stronger." As he spoke, William felt a ripple of energy surge through him. The crowd's reactions were immediate cheers mixed with nods of approval. But just before he could bask in the moment, a sharp and familiar voice echoed from the back, laced with mockery. "And what makes you think you can lead us, young McKinley?" Jonathan Murdoch had arrived at that moment, arms crossed, a smug grin playing on his lips. Tension crackled in the air, a palpable reminder that the battle for leadership was just beginning. William's heart raced. Did this mean his worst fears about losing the support of his community were coming true? Would Murdoch erase all his hard work with a few cynical words? The room bristled with anticipation, and William felt a swelling of resolve. He needed to stand firm, to push beyond the uncertainty battling within him. The moment had come for a fight not just against Murdoch, but against the very doubts that threatened to derail his dreams. Was he ready to face the challenge ahead? The answer hovered just out of reach, but he knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't back down without a fight. With Murdoch's eyes locked on his, a challenge flickered anew. It would take everything he had, but William was poised to transform the tides in his favor. The question loomed large. Could he rise above the mountain of expectations and the shadows of his past? Or would the fear of failure tear him apart? The next move was his, and it might just change everything. William took a deep breath, the air heavy with anticipation. Murdoch's taunt hung in the air like a cloud of smoke, suffocating yet inescapable. He squared his shoulders and looked around the room, meeting the eyes of familiar faces. These were friends, neighbors, his community. "Why shouldn't I lead?" he asked, his voice steady but charged with emotion. "I grew up here. I've walked these streets, faced struggles just like you. I know what this town means to all of us. I've seen the good and the bad. And I believe we can create something better together." Challenging Murdoch felt like jumping into icy water, a risk laden with uncertainty. But as he spoke, fervent nods began to ripple through the crowd. William's heart swelled with hope. It was that simple acknowledgement, that shared conviction, that made it all seem possible. Just maybe, this was his moment. Murdoch scoffed, his skepticism a stark contrast to the reverberating support, but William pressed on. "Our town has faced hardship, but we are resilient. We can help each other. We can rise from the ashes, together." He took a step forward, fueled by an unexpected fire. "What are we waiting for? We can't let fear dictate our future. We must embrace our collective strength." As the fervor built in the room, He caught sight of a few tears in the crowd, mingled with smiles sparking like stars in the night. Murdoch leaned against the wall, arms still crossed but the self-assured smirk on his lips faltering. William had hit a nerve. "Unity feels good," Murdoch sneered, "but dreams don't pay bills." The comment landed like a slap, but William felt a spark in his chest. "You're right, actions do. But we can't act in isolation. If we stand apart, we'll fall apart. We can create jobs, revive local businesses if we come together." The people stirred, whispers now buzzing with energy, hearts swelling at the prospect of not just surviving, but thriving. "Think about it," William continued, voice rising with passion. "Our families, our friends, all of us working side by side to rebuild. We can host community fairs, support small shops, imagine the pride in our town. Takes all of us. We need each other." Murdoch's face twisted with annoyance, but William could see the shift in the crowd. He was connecting, stitching the frayed threads of their community together. Just as he felt himself soaring, Murdoch barked, "And if you fail, what will your words mean then?" The question hung heavily, gnawing at William's resolve. What if he did fail? His heart thudded painfully in his chest, but instead of submitting to that fear, he found strength in it. "If I fail," he replied, "I'll learn. And I'll redo it. I will never stop trying." With those words, it felt as if a weight lifted, the community around him nodding as if finally seeing the possibilities instead of the setbacks. Murdoch's brow furrowed, the worry crossing his features, revealing he understood it was more than just a battle of words. This was about the future, an idea, a dream they could shape together. The tension remained, but William felt a tide turning, and he pressed on. Anyone can lead from a podium. The real challenge is leading from the heart. He could see it now, clarity amid the chaos. The people were hungry for connection, for someone they could believe in. As he left the meeting, his heart raced with adrenaline. The real fight lay ahead, but he wouldn't be deterred. He had kindled a fire that day, and he would stoke it. Together with the townspeople, they would confront whatever came next, especially Murdoch's next move. As he stepped outside, the cool evening air filled his lungs, carrying a sense of renewed purpose. But a pang of uncertainty quivered beneath his excitement. Would they all truly stand by him when the time came? The stakes were climbing, and as he gazed into the dimming horizon, he wondered if his resolve would be enough. The struggle for his town and his own heart felt bigger than ever. Where would this journey lead him next? William walked home under the tapestry of stars, each flickering light reminding him of the hope he felt today. The exhilaration still buzzed in his veins, but the weight of Murdoch's question lingered like a shadow. What if he failed? The thought gnawed at him, casting a slight pall over his triumph as he turned onto Maple Street. He spotted Mrs. Jenkins sitting on her front porch, her knitting needles flashing in the evening light. She looked up, her eyes brightening when she saw him. "William, how did it go?" He took a chance and shared a recap, his heart bubbling with enthusiasm. "It felt amazing, Mrs. Jenkins. The community, they actually listened. They were inspired. I think we might have a chance to really change things." Mrs. Jenkins put her knitting down, a wide smile on her weathered face. "Oh, my dear boy, you have a gift for words. But remember, it's not just about what you say. It's what you do next that counts." Her words struck him like a jolt. He needed to follow through. "You're right. I won't let this stop with just talk. I'll hold a meeting this weekend. We can start planning our first community event." Her eyes sparkled with approval. "That's the spirit. I'll help with the bake sale." His heart warmed at her enthusiasm. This was what he meant, connecting the dots of their community, piecing together the hearts that fed into their collective home. Yet, as he stepped into his house, the reality of the empty living room hit him. The laughter of his children was absent, their noisy debates replaced by silence. It reminded him of a small void within himself. He wanted them to believe in this dream, to see that it was possible to be a part of something bigger than themselves. The next morning, he awoke early, the sun streaming through the curtains, illuminating everything in golden warmth. He grabbed a notebook and began drafting a plan. What could they do that would not only lift spirits but also create a tangible impact? He jotted down ideas: community cleanup days, a revival of local farmers markets, workshops showcasing talent from within the town. Ideas flowed like an unstoppable river. The possibilities bloomed in his mind, until he felt a tickle of excitement at each jotted point. When he sat down for breakfast, his children were finally up. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, they devoured their pancakes. "Dad, what are you writing?" his youngest asked curiously, peering at the pages. "Plans for our town," William said with a grin. "I want to bring the community together. Want to help?" They exchanged glances, a flicker of intrigue in their expressions. "Can we have a talent show?" his daughter piped up. "I can sing. And Tommy can juggle." "Yes, that's perfect." His heart soared. Their voices bounced around the kitchen, bubbling with ideas, dreams sparkling like a live wire. He realized that change wasn't just on his shoulders. It was a family affair, a town affair. Later that day he returned to the community center, a renewed determination in each step. The bulletin board needed his plans. He taped his ideas up with shaky hands, each piece of paper whispering of hope and possibility. But as he turned to leave, he noticed Murdoch's shadow lurking by the door, arms crossed once more. "So, you're dreaming big, really?" Murdoch's voice dripped with skepticism. "What happens when they see you're just another guy in over his head?" A chill crept up William's spine. For every ounce of support, there was a counterweight. "If they see something worth believing in," William answered, leveling his gaze, "then I won't just be another guy. I'll be someone who cares. And that matters." Murdoch frowned, but for a moment, William swore he saw a flicker of doubt cross his expression. With every step out of the community center, William felt the burden of the challenge settle on his shoulders. He had ignited a flame, but could he keep it alive? And could Murdoch's shadow loom larger than he anticipated? The days ahead would not just test his resolve but the belief of an entire town hanging in the balance. Where would this journey lead him next? As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the familiar streets of Maple Street, the sense of urgency in William's stomach felt like an electric current. He knew the meeting was just days away, and preparation was key. He spent the next few days reaching out to neighbors, friends, and even folks he barely knew, spreading the word about the gathering. "Hey, did you hear? We're planning a community event this weekend," he said with an infectious smile. Some faces lit up with excitement while others remained skeptical. William took their doubts in stride, fueled by the conviction that hearts could change like the seasons. On Thursday evening, as the last light of day faded, William found himself huddled in his living room, surrounded by his children. He had asked them to help him put together some flyers. Crayons and colored papers filled the coffee table. His daughter drew swirling stars, while Tommy scribbled out the details of the talent show. "Dad, what if people don't come?" said Tommy, his brow furrowing as he focused on not smudging the ink. William ruffled his hair, feeling the heat of worry creep in. "They will, buddy. We just need to get the word out. And even if not everyone comes, it's about building the community, remember? We'll have fun regardless." His daughter nodded, reassured. "Yeah, and we can invite everyone, even those kids from school." Their enthusiasm filled the room, and for a moment, the worry slipped away. Later that night, William reviewed his notes before bed, visualizing every detail of the gathering in his mind. The panic whispered again, what if Murdoch was right? The night before the event, rain drummed softly against the roof, a soothing backdrop to William's restless thoughts. He paced back and forth, reluctant to give in to sleep. His mind ran over his plans, his worries, and what Murdoch had said, gnawing on each phrase until they were just bitter memories finally. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring into the dark. "If I don't try, I'll never know," he whispered to himself, steadying his breath. When morning came, the rain had cleared, leaving a crisp freshness in the air. With his children by his side, they set off to the community center, arms loaded with decorations and supplies. The sight of the center, a once dull building, was alive, imbued with promise as they strung up colorful banners and set chairs out in neat rows. Neighbors trickled in, hesitant at first but gradually finding their rhythm in the warmth of laughter and shared excitement. Conversations sparked between strangers. Children showcased their juggling and singing talents, filling the room with joyful chaos. William felt a spark ignite in his chest. He realized this was more than just his event, it was theirs. The town, united. Yet, as he stepped back to take it all in, he saw Murdoch standing outside, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "Hey, are you coming in?" William called out, trying to hold a thread of optimism. "Why bother? This is just fluff," Murdoch replied, his voice steady but laced with something deeper. William's heart sank, but part of him wanted to extend a hand. "You'd be surprised what a little fluff can do." Murdoch remained motionless for a heartbeat longer, then turned slightly away. "I doubt it." The moment felt like a weight, hovering just above the buoyancy of laughter inside the center. But the whispers of the townsfolk began to drown out the storm brewing outside. It wasn't just about one person. It was about the spirit of an entire community, fragile and beautiful. As the day unfolded, William took note of every smile and delighted cheer. Could this be the catalyst needed to transform their little town? With unity blossoming around him, could he persuade Murdoch to believe in the possibility? The afternoon wore on, and just as everything seemed poised for magic, a commotion erupted at the entrance. William turned, heart racing, as he noticed a group of familiar faces huddled at the door. They looked lost, uncertain. "Dad, what's wrong?" His daughter tugged on his pant leg, concern etched across her small features. William's pulse quickened as he approached the door. "Let us go see," he said, steeling himself for whatever was about to unfold. What he saw next would change everything he thought he knew about his community, about Murdoch, and about himself. Would it be worth the leap of faith he had taken? The door swung open, revealing a group of teenagers, shivering not just from the late afternoon chill, but with uncertainty. Their heads hung low and anxious glances exchanged among them. William was taken aback. Just days ago, he had seen them laughing and enjoying their weekends, not standing at the threshold of his community event looking like lost souls. "Hey there," he greeted, a mix of warmth and concern wrapping around his words. "What's going on?" One of the boys, Liam, stepped forward. We saw the flyers. We thought we'd check it out," but his voice trailed off as he glanced back at his friends. "But what?" William noticed the way they shifted their weight, the indecision in their eyes like a flickering flame, and it tugged at him. "It's just we don't really know anyone," another girl admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "We thought it'd be fun, but we're not so sure anymore." William stepped outside, feeling the pull of them, inviting them into something vibrant and full of promise. "You will. Trust me, it's not just about knowing people. It's about getting to know each other. Here, let me introduce you around." Tommy peeked from behind William, his eyes widening as he noticed the unfamiliar faces. "Can we show them the talent show?" he asked, eager to display the excitement he felt. "Great idea." William grinned, then turned back to the group. "My son wants to show you guys what we've got going on inside. Come on." With some hesitation, the teens shuffled in behind him. As they entered, the air buzzed with energy, laughter ringing from every corner. Children juggled and sang, some balancing on makeshift tightropes made from decorations. William could feel the tension around the newcomers slowly begin to wane. "See? It's not so intimidating," he said, watching as the teens' faces began to light up, edged smiles breaking through the uncertainty. He felt a rush of hope, believing that perhaps they would find their place here amidst the joy of shared creativity. However, Murdoch's figure lingered just outside, still watching, still waiting. William's heart sank a little as he remembered the doubt clouding Murdoch's face. Could this gathering truly bridge the gap? Could it bring in those who thought their lives were too mired in separation to change? The evening unfolded, filled with surprisingly touching moments. A girl who bursted into song filled the room with so much spirit it had everyone singing along. Laughter floated around, almost as if the very walls of the community center were absorbing the joy and giving it back tenfold. William felt his heart swell, looking from the teens laughing freely to his children shining like bright beacons himself. Just as he marveled at their transformation, a loud crash jolted him back to reality. A stack of chairs had fallen down near the entrance. He rushed over, only to find Murdoch once again standing there, this time with a frown tightening his jaw. "It looks like your little festival is falling apart." "No, it's just a bump. Things like this happen," William said with determination in his voice, a tiny fire igniting in him. "Murdoch, I know you don't believe in this, but see what's happening here. It's not about perfection. It's about connection." Murdoch scoffed. "Connection? This is just kids playing dress-up. It won't change anything. You'll see." His voice held a heaviness that knocked the wind out of William's sails. But deep down, William clung to a flicker of hope. Maybe change starts small. Maybe it starts right here. As the night wore on, William flicked glances at Murdoch, hoping to see a crack in his skepticism, a glimmer of interest. Yet, the man remained impassive, looming like a dark cloud amid the evening's brightened spirit. And then, just as the event was about to conclude, Tommy's voice rang out. "Dad, there's someone else we should invite." Eyes widened, William looked at his son, curiosity swelling within. "Who?" Tommy gestured toward the doorway, a new figure just arriving, silhouetted against the golden light of the hallway. In an instant, everything shifted once more, and William felt the air charge with anticipation. Could this person change everything? Would it be another blow to Murdoch's disbelief or the missing piece for their community's harmony? William's heart raced as the figure stepped into the light, the unforgettable spark of hope flickering just on the edge of realization. The figure stepped fully into the room, and William's breath caught in his throat. It was Claire, his old friend from high school. She hadn't changed much. Her laugh still rang like music, bright and full of life. Yet there was something deeper in her eyes, a warmth that made William feel an electric jolt of nostalgia mixed with potential. "Claire," he exclaimed, instantly forgetting about Murdoch's scowl. "What a surprise. I didn't think you'd make it." As she approached, the room seemed to shift again, happiness bubbling up as if drawn to her. "I saw the flyers at the diner and had to check this out," she said, smiling as she took in the scene. A group of kids were twirling in the corner, their laughter ringing like bells. "This looks incredible." William could hardly contain his enthusiasm. "It really is. We've got a talent show going on, and more surprises lined up. It's meant to bring the community together." She looked thoughtful for a moment, glancing toward the teenagers who had entered with William. "Looks like you've got a mix of old and new faces. That's what it's all about, right?" He felt a swell of pride. "Exactly. We want everyone to belong. We were just talking about how small changes can spark greater things." Just then, a loud cheer erupted across the room as someone landed a particularly impressive juggling act. The sound rippled through the crowd, pulling Claire into the moment as she clapped along, her spirit infectious. "Is that Tommy?" she asked, pointing to William's son, who had taken center stage next to a few younger kids. "Yeah. He loves performing," William replied, beaming as the act finished. There was a burst of applause, and Tommy waved, recognizing Claire in the crowd. He bounded over to her. "Hi, Miss Claire. Are you going to perform too?" She laughed at his unabashed excitement. "Me? I think I'm more of a backstage kind of person these days," she teased, ruffling his hair. Then her smile softened. "But I'd love to help out. Do you need an extra pair of hands?" William nodded eagerly. "Yes. That would be amazing." At that moment, he realized that people didn't just come for the acts. They came for the connections, the sense of belonging that everyone seemed desperate for, but hadn't known how to reach. Murdoch, still lurking by the entrance, seemed momentarily forgotten by everyone else, but William wasn't done. He walked over, determined to extend the warmth that had just ignited in his heart. "Murdoch, this is Claire. We grew up together. She's going to help us out tonight." He gestured to her, hoping some of her energy would shift his friend's mood. Murdoch returned a curt nod, his skepticism still firmly entrenched. "Nice to meet you," he muttered, though his eyes narrowed slightly at the sight of the joyful interactions taking place around him. Claire, undeterred, turned her focus back to William. I think you're onto something big here. Maybe this is the start of a whole new chapter for the community, she said, her voice a mixture of encouragement and excitement. Suddenly, Tommy piped up again. Can we make a dance-off? That would be so fun. We could invite everyone. His eyes sparkled with the eagerness of a dreamer with too many ideas. William looked around at the faces lighting up with possibility. This was it. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the laughter, the creativity, the acceptance. He could see the tension melting, the boundaries blurring. Why not? He said, feeling a wave of exhilaration wash over him. Let us do a dance-off. Cheers erupted, and the room filled with energy, as pairs of friends began teaming up near the stage, hopping excitedly and sharing shy, anticipatory smiles. Murdoch remained staunch and unyielding, his arms crossed, but a slight twitch at the corner of his mouth hinted that he was at least a little curious. Amidst the thrum of excitement, Claire leaned in closer. William, we don't have to wait for the big changes to happen. Sometimes it's the little victories that ignite a spark. Just as he was about to reply, a loud shriek erupted from the dance area. Kid had tripped and tumbled dramatically, launching into an impromptu breakdance. The crowd roared with laughter, the tension inside the community center finally cracking wide open. William beamed, swept away by the joy cascading through the air. Was it possible? Was this truly the beginning of a transformation? He glanced at Murdoch one last time and saw the man's unwavering gaze on the chaos that might just inspire even him. But before he could savor that thought, Tommy dashed up again, his face lit with another idea. Dad, we should invite everyone to come up, even Murdoch. And there it was. The golden opportunity hung in the air, thick with potential. Would Murdoch rise to the occasion, or turn his back on yet another chance for connection? William's heart raced, uncertainty mingled with a profound hope. What would happen next? Would this dance-off draw everyone in and truly bridge the divide? Would it begin to change hearts or only reinforce walls? All eyes turned expectantly between him and Murdoch. Murdoch's expression shifted slightly, that twitch at the corner of his mouth growing more pronounced. William could almost see the internal struggle play out in front of him. Come on, Murdoch, Tommy urged, pulling at Murdoch's arm like a tiny whirlwind. It'll be fun. I know you can dance. The crowd began to chant Murdoch, Murdoch, with infectious energy. The walls of skepticism around Murdoch were crumbling. William held his breath, watching the storm of emotions ripple across his friend's face. Murdoch shifted uncomfortably, his brows knitting together. I don't dance, he muttered. But William could hear an edge of uncertainty lacing his words. Oh, said Claire, ever the diplomat. It's not about dancing perfectly. It's about joining in. Just let loose and have fun. Her eyes sparkled as she leaned in with encouragement. You'd be surprised at how liberating it can feel. The chanting grew louder, kids bouncing on their toes, shaking off the seriousness of the night. It was as if they were lifting Murdoch into the air, buoying him with their collective hope. Okay, maybe just a couple of moves, he conceded, raising his hands in mock surrender. William couldn't help but smile. There was something in that hesitant but willing gesture that filled the air with warmth. You can do it, Tommy shouted, pulling Murdoch closer to the makeshift dance floor, nearly vibrating with excitement. The rhythm of the music changed to something faster, pop beats infecting the gathering like a jolt of caffeine. Claire stepped before the crowd, guiding the atmosphere with her natural zest. Let us all join in. Who's brave enough to go first? A few eager teenagers hopped forward, showing off their best moves. The room thrummed with a pulse of laughter and cheer. William watched Murdoch take a cautious step closer, trapped somewhere between enthusiasm and reluctance. Hey, Claire called out, pulling him completely into the spotlight. Let us give him a hand. Everyone. The audience responded with claps and cheers, rallying behind Murdoch with a sense of collective pride that only a community could share. Feeling the pressure and the encouragement poke at him like playful nudges, Murdoch began to sway. For a brief moment he seemed lost in the music. He stumbled, but the crowd roared with laughter and applause. Sensing their acceptance, he let go a bit more. Little by little, he started to let the rhythm guide him. William felt a lump rise in his throat. This was it. Every bit of questioning and tension was dissolving in that instant. Suddenly, Murdoch did something unexpected. He twisted and gave a quick spin, arms wide, embracing the experience. The crowd exploded in cheers. It was a small victory, yet monumental for someone who had built up walls so high. "See, I told you," Tommy shouted with glee, as if Murdoch had just performed a magic trick. As Murdoch found his groove, William caught sight of Clara's smile, proud and gleeful. There was a shared understanding between them, a realization that tonight meant something more than entertainment. It was a transformation, a new tie binding the community together, and it all sparked from a simple idea. But then, just as they all began to find their rhythm, the music cut out abruptly. The sudden silence was jarring. Everyone stopped and turned to the speakers, and a flustered volunteer hurriedly adjusted the wires. A moment of tension throbbed in the air. "What's happening?" Tommy asked, worry creeping up on his youthful face. "Probably just a little technical difficulty," William assured, though his heart raced with anticipation. Will they all lose this electric momentum? Or would they find a way to keep that connection alive despite the unexpected hiccup? And then Murdoch, ever the underdog, stepped forward upon the makeshift stage, raised his hands and hollered, "Let us keep the energy going. Dance with what you have." That bold statement sent ripples through the crowd, igniting a spark of resilience. William felt hope bloom yet again. This wasn't just a dance-off anymore, it was something much bigger. But uncertainty lingered. Would they maintain the magic? Could they hold onto this connection when the next obstacle arrived? The moment of truth seemed inevitable, as everyone peered intently, waiting to see what would unfold next. Would Murdoch's unexpected confidence inspire even more from others? Or would the shadows of doubt creep back with the silence? Murdoch's call echoed through the stillness like a lifeline, drawing attention back to the moment. The crowd hushed, unsure but full of anticipation. Then, one by one, people began to clap their hands, beat their feet, and laugh. It started as a soft rumble, like a distant storm, before growing into a roar as everyone chimed in. "Come on, Murdoch, let us dance," Claire shouted, her energy infectious. With their collective spirit charging the atmosphere, Murdoch hesitated only for a second longer before he threw his arms wide again, his eyes sparkling with excitement. There was no music, but the rhythm of hope soared high around them. William's heart raced as he watched Murdoch launch into a series of spontaneous moves. He twirled, shook his shoulders, and even threw in a hop that brought a new wave of cheers from the crowd. "You see, it's all about feeling the moment," William called out, his voice filled with encouragement, and the crowd echoed his sentiment with loud shouts and laughter. Tommy beamed at Murdoch, his own clapping synchronized with Murdoch's improvised groove. The crowd shifted as if they had turned into a single entity, each person contributing their spirit to keep their momentum alive. "What's happening?" Claire murmured, watching the floor come alive as everyone joined Murdoch in various interpretations of dance. "This is pure magic," William replied, hardly believing what he was witnessing. The once muted faces around him were brightening, drawing energy from Murdoch's infectious enthusiasm. Slowly, William let himself be swept up in it, joining in the rhythm and clapping along, feeling the weight of the world lift off his shoulders. "Look at him go," Tommy giggled, his joy bubbling over into pure delight. Murdoch was more than dancing now. He was a beacon, drawing everyone closer. They were united in laughter, in abandon, and in the realization that fear had no place in the joyful chaos of togetherness. But just as the energy reached a fever pitch, the towering buffet table trembled under the excited movements. A plate teetered at the edge and flipped, sending popcorn flying like confetti. The vibrant snacks mingled with laughter as kids scrambled, delighting in the unexpected shower. "Now we're taking things to a whole new level," Murdoch declared, motioning wildly with his hands. With every giggle and burst of joy, the community bonded deeper, filling in any spaces left by uncertainty. People are letting loose, Claire exclaimed, eyes wide with wonder. Look at how they're rallying behind him. For William, witnessing this transformation brought a wave of emotion. Murdoch transformed from a timid soul into a symbol of resilience, defying expectations and doubts. The infectious joy pulsing through the room made it impossible to stand on the sidelines. "Hey, Murdoch!" shouted someone from the back. "Let us get the limbo going." "Who's up for it?" Murdoch replied, grinning ear to ear, the sheer thrill of spontaneity filling his voice. Laughter erupted as kids scrambled to form a line, arms wide, ready to prove they had what it took to bend low. William joined in, his body moving on its own, reveling in the explosion of community and connection. But amid all this, a nagging thought tugged at him. Could this spark last? Would the energy fade? Or would they foster something more profound amidst the joy? The true test loomed closer with each beat of the unplayed music. William squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, wishing for the current magic to flourish, spreading love throughout the night. Yet, a shadow still loomed, and deep down he wondered if they could hold on to this feeling once the dance quieted down. As Murdoch readied himself to limbo, the crowd drew in closer, their anticipation palpable. Would this moment set the stage for something bigger? Or was it merely a fleeting joy on the edge of uncertainty? The next step hung in the air, waiting to be taken. Would they grasp it? Or would it slip through their fingers like the popcorn that fell? As the laughter bubbled around them, the atmosphere felt electric. In that moment, each person, including William and Murdoch, found themselves dancing to a rhythm that pulsed with unity and connection, echoing the very spirit of their community. The fear of exclusion and doubt slipped away with every step. Murdoch bent low, surprising himself as he limboed under a set of arms, laughing alongside the very crowd he once doubted. "Are you all seeing this?" William called out, his voice booming with joy. "This is what we stand for. Community, acceptance, togetherness." Tommy jumped up and down, shouting louder than before, "We're unstoppable." As Murdoch straightened up, panting but beaming, William caught his eye. Their gazes met, and for a moment, it felt as if all the burdens of the past shifted gently into a new light. Murdoch, the man who once questioned William's dreams, now shared in their realization. A little girl, thrilled with the atmosphere, twirled past them, her laughter a sweet melody that filled the room. "Keep it going, everyone," Claire encouraged, her own enthusiasm flaring brighter in the spirit of joyful abandon. A wave of energy surged through the room as the gathering began to spin around, forgetting their doubts as they became lost in the magic. Just when it seemed that the momentum was at its peak, a sudden roar erupted from the back of the room. "Let us have a group dance," someone yelled. The crowd cheered in agreement, pulling everyone tightly together, forming a circle. William felt his heart swell. They were more than individuals now. They were a living, breathing tapestry woven from shared laughter and hopes. William turned to Murdoch with a grin. "This is just the start. Imagine what we could do together, truly uplift our homes, nurture the dreams we all carry." Murdoch nodded, the skepticism beginning to dissolve like sugar in warm water as they all waved their arms. Lost in spontaneous joy, William's gaze drifted toward the windows. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the town in soft shades of orange and pink. It seemed to reflect the transformation within the room once somber. Heavy hearts were now filled with light and joy. "It's not just a dance-off," William proclaimed. "It's about rekindling bonds, finding strength in one another." He felt the crowd rally behind him, their cheers echoing against the walls like a warm embrace. Yet a part of him still worried. Would they maintain this connection beyond tonight? The thought gnawed at him even amid laughter, but maybe, just maybe, this was a turning point. "Everyone," he shouted, raising a hand to quiet the crowd. "Let us not just savor this magic tonight. Let us carry it forward, turn it into action. We need to keep rebuilding our town together, just like we've rebuilt this gathering." Cheers erupted anew, the echoes weaving through the air like fireflies glinting in dusk. Even Murdoch found himself caught up in the moment, a smile blossoming across his face as he lost himself in the energy. Hours passed in joyous spontaneity, but as the night wound down, William felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude. They had shared more than just a good time. They had sparked a new dawn, a community reborn from the ashes of doubt and division as people began to gather their belongings. Speaking excitedly about future plans and ideas, William spotted Claire, her eyes glistening with pride. "You did it, William." This event ignited something incredible. He beamed back, feeling the weight of hope coalesce around him. "We all did it," he replied, recognizing that true strength lay in their united voices. Then, as the crowd drifted towards the door, Murdoch stepped forward, hesitantly but determined. "Can I still be a part of this?" he asked, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "Absolutely," William answered without hesitation, a warmth radiating from his core. "We need your voice, your ideas. We're stronger together." "I know I doubted you," Murdoch continued, his eyes sincere, "but tonight made me realize what I was missing. I want to help this community grow." Collective sense of relief swept through. Murdoch had not just found acceptance. He had embraced his role within the heart of their community. As the last guests finally left, William stood outside in the quiet of the night, gazing at the sky flecked with distant stars. His heart felt full. "I guess this really was just the beginning," he whispered, his voice merging with the gentle wind. With determination brimming within him, he vowed never to let go of the connections forged that night. He could feel the warmth of possibility, thick and inviting, beckoning with endless opportunity. Join hands, create pathways, and rise. This community would walk the distance together. That night changed everything. William, his family, and their beloved town would thrive, not just as individuals, but as a beautifully woven family. Now, to you who are hearing this, let this story inspire you to build connections within your own communities. Do not hesitate. Bring people together. Find strength in unity and let your actions mold the future. And listen closely. If you enjoyed this, if it touched your heart, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your actions are what keep this spark alive.